Okay, people. Good morning, good evening, good night, whatever. So I'm gonna try and do basically the last remaining video of this. I guess you could call series of problems people seem to be having with the Nespi case. So a lot of people get power bolt issues with the Nespi case, and yet they don't have it with a regular Raspberry Pi 3. Now, they're from me gathering information and me knowing a little bit about electronics. I'm just going to show you a basic run of what I've found out. Not really knowing too much about the information that's provided. I'll be straight honest with you. Maybe someone who's a little more electronically challenged can shed some light on what exactly we're seeing. But I mean, it should be self-explanatory of the results that we're gonna put on here. So, without further ado, let's get into this. So I do have a 5.1 volt 3 amp charger. This is what I basically use to test all of my cases. I test every single case. This is a brand new case I just got from someone who I just did a swap for, a modded case. So all the cases that I have currently sold have never had an issue. But I know some people do have issues from factory with their cases. So I bought some little tester unit. It's called a DROC USB tester. Basically, this measures the voltage and amperage rating out of each unit. I did buy some special connectors so we can hook in our power supply directly into this, and then hook this directly into our Raspberry Pi or our Nespi case. So let's go ahead and unbox all this stuff. And I apologize if my camera angles are not going to be the best right now. I'm trying to get a better setup here. Like I said, this is a brand new case. It's never ever been opened. So we'll go directly from here. Open this up. Okay, so we still got the little baggie of stuff here. So this is a stock board. This is not one of my custom boards. As you can see, it's got all the stock soldering inside of it, all the stock switches. The custom board that I'm talking about, you'll notice the difference because it does pop out. So if it's sat inside, you'll see this board popping out right here. So anyway, this is a stock case, so we're going to try it. We're going to test it on my little screen here and hook it directly into if I can. We'll try and get this all hooked up as best as we possibly can. It's going to be kind of a pain to do this. So let me disconnect this cable so we can have our power. Now, I will not be powering the tablet screen off of the Pi. It's got its own power source right here. Let's disconnect that just to get it up out of the way because we're not going to need audio. It's just going to be for visual components only. Where's that stock board? Just had one. Okay. So I have a couple different Pis, but we're not going to be using those actually. I'm sorry. Where's that other one? Oh. So this board I just got from a fellow group member, sorry, not a forum, group member, saying that he had a problem with his Nespi case. Now this is his Nespi case. I have disassembled it, checked it, everything runs fine. I bought his Raspberry Pi, his power supply, his Raspberry Pi. I bought everything. So just to figure out what exactly is going on with these cases with a power draw. So I booted his up, and it was instantaneous power bolt issue. So, and it was every single thing that I went through. I didn't even have to go into a main menu. It was just a regular startup menu that had power bolt issues. So, I mean, the more we loaded onto it, the worse it was. So, and this is the power supply he was using. Now, at first glance, this is a pretty ridiculous power supply. This is a 5 volt, 3.5 amp power supply. Now that's quite a feat of power. And you know, I figured, well, I'm not going to have any issues with this because the one that I use is a 5.1 volt, 3 amp. So 3.5 amps, how are you going to have discharge? Well, my first guess was, look at this. This is his power cord. This is like a 5 or 6 foot power cord compared to my 3 or 4 foot power cord. Now that does make a huge difference in your power supply because your loss of electricity in there, I believe it's called loss of attenuation if I'm not mistaken. But you know that might be video purposing, but it's basically the same thing. When you run a certain length of wire with a certain gauge of wire inside of it, you tend to lose power over time. So, like this could be putting out 3.5 amps, but by the time you get to this connector, it could be putting out, you know, maybe 3 amps, if that. But still, that should give you more than enough power with it. So we'll test that one out and test it against my one. I have a North Pata power supply that I was told to check out and, you know, give a little review on. This is actually a pretty good power supply. I've already kind of tested this a little bit. This is a 5 volt 3 amp. This is not it does not have the inline switch. This is just a regular power supply. And again, you see the power cord is much smaller. This is probably 4 feet at the max. So this is actually, I actually kind of like this a little better than my power supply that I use right now. So I might be changing to those. Unfortunately, just like my power supply, they're all out of stock. So I'll have to wait for that. But anyway, excuse me, on to what we were doing. So I'm going to use this Raspberry Pi that I got from a forum group member. And, you know, it's got heat sinks on it, so it's all ready to go. It's got one of my cards in it. So let's go ahead and hook it up here, just as we normally would. Just kind of rig it to go. And I don't really have to set it in there because we're going to be using some other special stuff on it. If I can get it hooked up. Sorry guys, I've been fighting a terrible cold for the last few days. I've been down and out. So thankfully I'm not hacking up a lung. So let's go ahead and put this in. Now this may or may not draw amperage from the board. I'm not sure. I don't think it should because it's just a video component. Because I am powering the board, not through the GPIOs. I'm powering it just through a regular crappy power supply because it doesn't really need much. So we're going to go ahead and put this inside. So we have our operating system, and I lost my memory card. Okay. Excuse me. So now that we've got that all hooked up, we're going to take our Drock tester and we're going to plug that directly into the back here. Okay, so the fitment of that is actually pretty close there because the USB connector, the way that it's styled, is just right there. So we'll plug that into the Drock tester. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. We're gonna do this one first. Sorry, guys. I'm like jumping around here because I'm not at 100% here. So my apologies. Just bear with me. All right. So we're gonna test our power supply first off. So we're going to plug it in and see what it measures at. So obviously we're not going to get an amperage rating because we need a follow through out of one of these ports. So, but as you can see, it registers at 5.5 volts. Okay. So 5.5 volts. That says 827 amps, but I don't think that's right. But I think that's capacitance, actually. Yeah. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where my little cheat sheet is. There we go. All right, so trying to understand this. Yeah, so here, let's go back to the original. So here's our regular volt and amp reading, and then here's capacitance. So it's 827 amps at capacitance. I'll be honest, I have no idea what the hell that means. So I don't think that's really going to matter. We're more or less testing out the voltage and amperage draw of this case. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hook this up. Okay, so we're still measuring at 550. Let's see if we can get a little closer.